And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 54. Yeah. I don't have anything clever to say. We passed the 1 year mark, so it's just another number. Let's move on. Yep. We got some topics, and the topics I had for this morning are honestly just all gaming related. So for the first bit, it's going to be that. Segment 2, we did do movie night this week. Yeah, we watched it yesterday, remember?
Yesterday?
Yesterday. No, the movie is called Yesterday, you dumbass.
Oh, right. I was like, I don't remember watching everything yesterday. Oh, I see.
And then, segment 3, I finally finished the Red Rising Trilogy, so we're going to be talking about Morningstar. Yeah. And maybe we'll get the whole review into one segment this time around instead of spreading it out over 2, because there's more ideas we got for future segment 3s.
Exactly.
But without going too much into all of that, first topic, and I think this one probably is going to be quick, but just something very fun and very recent. Yeah, Ode to Jesse. Friend Jesse, he turned us on to this new game. It's a beta. It's in beta right now. It's free to play on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. It's called Splitgate. And
is it cross-platform?
I don't know if it's cross-platform, but I do have it installed on my Xbox back there. I was going to try it out later. But it's being kind of billed as a Halo meets Portal in the most literal interpretation of that.
Yeah,
where
I was going to say very literal.
They literally just took Halo and glued a portal gun to it. Yeah. I mean, it works, and honestly, I think it takes a little bit from... Did you ever play the Tribes Ascend games?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about when I say those? Okay, so popular PC franchise. It was all centered around Capture the Flag, although they did have deathmatch type games, and there was an ability called skiing in it. So you were in like these futuristic like power armor suits, and if you activated boost at just the right time, you would skim along the edges of hills and build up tremendous momentum. And so the game was around like skiing down hills and launching off and doing a lot of aerial stuff. Very fun. But the shooting gameplay is very similar to this one, where it's a lot of run and gun, like arena style shooter. Yeah. And that's what this one does right. It gets that like mid 2000s like arena style shooter feel perfectly, and I don't know.
It does. The sound design is very nice.
I mean, I've had the game for a day, and I think I've got 7 hours on it.
Yep.
But yeah, the sound. You were talking. We played a game before the podcast this morning, and you were talking about how like the bullet impact noises are just very satisfying.
Especially when using an automatic weapon, the constant.
Yeah. That's something that I think goes underappreciated with a lot of games. Like people talk about the audio sound, like the music that goes with it, and when they're talking about sound design, explosion sound effects. But something as simple as the way a gun sounds to fire and the impact is just intensely satisfying with a lot of FPS games.
Yeah,
like,
one of the big pluses for me when I initially played Killing Floor 2 is that the gun sound design in that is excellent.
Yeah.
When you're firing a double-barreled shotgun, it feels like there's some weight behind it.
Well, and that was what I liked about the Halo Infinite beta, which we talked about on last week's podcast because it concluded last weekend. But it like all of the guns, like when you fired them, they felt like they had an impact to them. Like you could feel the vibration and the sound. Like it was very, very good. Whereas I remember trying to think back when Halo 3 first came out. They brought back the assault rifle because they had it was in Halo 1, they took it out in Halo 2, and they brought it back in Halo 3. But, unlike the original one, I remember it being criticized by saying it sounded like, when you put like a card in the spokes of a bike wheel.
Yeah.
It had this very disappointing, like, weightless sound. It was just like
Tinny. Right.
But with a lot less bass. So I can't really do it.
Yeah, I got you.
But this one, yeah, great. And the portal mechanics, they're almost optional. Like, I've gone entire games without using them at all and still been the top scorer on the team.
Yeah, I think higher level is definitely there's definitely going to be a lot more of it. I just started using portals a lot more to also on the edge of the map, make a portal in the middle of the map, and have like a safe bunker where I just shoot through it and no one can return fire.
Oh, when I was playing with Jesse yesterday afternoon, he did something where he put a portal at the top of the map on like a tower, and then he hid in the corner and just put the other portal in the corner, and he was just sniping through that like hole that he made in the map. So there's definitely, like you said, I think there's going to be like higher level play to go with that, but especially for free, like the game has microtransactions. You can buy skins for weapons, skins for your character, and everything.
Yeah, like every game ever these days.
Yeah, but the gameplay is solid, and it was just a blast. Like I didn't want to put it down when I started playing it yesterday.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. It definitely brings back memories of kind of couch co-op Halo games kind of thing.
Yeah, and last night, after we were playing obviously, and then when you got off, I think Jake joined, and so Jake
was playing before we started playing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I assumed he was AFK because he didn't get in contact with us, but I guess he came back.
Yeah, he did, and so it was me, him, Juan, and Jesse playing last night.
Nice.
And I even pulled Juan, and I can't remember the last time I saw Juan playing an FPS, but we used to play him all the time.
Yeah, there's that classic argument that people have where people who think PvP games, people who want a game that is just PvP, and this is the thing. So if there's a game that is purely PvP based, right, I generally quite enjoy it. If there's a game that is story based, I don't want any PvP in it. Do you know what I mean?
I can see that, but I see what you're saying, but I'm thinking, like, I remember back when you're saying you want the multiplayer and the single player, the story bits, to be completely divorced from each other.
Yeah, to be separate. Like, if you're talking about Call of Duty, then obviously, yes, story and multiplayer, but they're separate.
Yeah, I'm thinking back the original Halo games. They had amazing campaigns and great multiplayer, but they were completely divorced from each other.
Yeah, no, because I was watching a video recently, and these people were going into the statistics on basically what companies were making money at the moment, what were getting all the plays.
Yeah,
and basically mobile games 10-1 beat any other game.
Of course.
And it's so frustrating for anyone like you and me who's just like, I mean, how many mobile games do you have on your phone?
2.
2.
Okay.
I
have Pokemon. I have Pokemon Go and I never open it, and I have Solitaire.
I've got Pokemon Go. I've got RuneScape, which is technically a PC game. And I had Genshin Impact, which is also technically a PC game.
I mean, if you include, so I have a tablet too, which something I never thought I would say. I always thought tablets were stupid, pointless pieces of technology. But if you include that, I also have Magic the Gathering Arena and KOTOR on it. But both of those are also PC games.
PC games, yeah. It's like, I don't know, when you're when you're a PC gamer, you don't play mobile games all that much. I think that's fair to say. And it baffles me why people enjoy phone games so much. Like, okay,
yeah,
I understand why people play them. They're easy to access, and you can do them while you're on a bus or something. But they're so fucking boring, and they make so much money. It's infuriating.
Well, okay, so I don't know if I've talked about this in the podcast before, but like every year or two, I like going to I like doing a casino trip, right? Because I enjoy playing blackjack. I enjoy playing roulette. They're both very math based games, in addition to luck and whatever. And so I find them fun. I usually don't. I usually walk away with basically what money I walked in with, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I'm not going there to win cash. I'm going there to play a game. What infuriates me casinos is when there's only like 1 or 2 blackjack tables in operation and like 18 billion slot machines. Because that's what this feels like to me. Mobile games are basically slot machines in my mind. They're like zero effort, zero skill, but there's a fucking billion of them. And for some reason, they're always like, they always got tons of people at them, and yet they can't staff 2 blackjack tables.
It is kind of boggling. Yeah, and so you get people in our community who say, you know, oh, we want a game that's like a ruthless hardcore PvP game. And you've got to think, how many people, first of all, actually play PC games compared to mobile games? Like, when a business is coming up with an idea, are they thinking, first of all, it would be a lot better to just make a mobile game. It takes less people, it makes a lot more money, whatever. And then second of all, when you're making like a story game, to make it hardcore PvP, like that's a fraction of us nerd people, and we're a fraction of the mobile people, so it's like this tiny amount of people, and so you get these games out there, because everyone's like, oh, we want these pure-based PvP stuff, and then they just get no traction, because no one, like a tiny percent of people enjoy playing them.
Well, to bring this to a more controversial topic, one of the, you know, like, I butchered that sentence. One of the things that you hear said a lot when people are trying to, I don't know, wokeify video games is that they're like, oh, you know, we need to have more women in video games because women play half of all gamers. The way they get to that number is they include mobile games. Because by far and away, most people who play mobile games are women. And so like, it's, I mean, it is like some people like them, and apparently most of the people that like them are women, which makes all of the horrible shit we've said about mobile games seem a little bit worse now in that context. But
does it? I mean,
it might just, it's different things for different people. Yeah,
different strokes for different folks, but it's just so okay, now I'm trying not to be mean.
Exactly. You're doing the exact same thing I just did, where the moment you thought of it, you're like, oh, I shouldn't say it.
It's just so plain.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking bread roll, whereas a PC game is a cinnamon bun. That doesn't help you because you hate sugar, but
I do, yeah, and I don't really eat bread that much either.
Okay, it's like a sandwich with no filling.
Yeah. Or it was something, you know...
Except...
I'm going to stereotype myself as
you can
American
have as much filling as you want in this sandwich, but every time you want something in that sandwich, you have to pay a little bit of money.
Yeah. Well,
and that filling disappears after, let's say, half an hour. Whereas with a PC game, typically it just fucking, you get what you buy, and it's delicious, and it's a set price.
While we're doing this with food, I got another one. I fucking hate plain cheese pizza. I think that is just it's a waste. Why are you doing that?
Like 3 cheese pizza?
It's just like pizza that's just, no, not even 3 cheese I can understand because you got some variety of flavors in there. I'm saying just a plain cheese pizza. Some people like that. I think it's fucking pointless. You're wasting your time. The point of the pizza is all the toppings. Like, in my mind, at least.
I think...
So it's hold on, wait. So it's a plain cheese pizza, like the mobile games, plain cheese pizza that you're paying like $1 extra to add toppings to for each one, right?
Yeah.
Or you can go to like some fancy ass restaurant and you get some crafted artisanal pizza that comes with the toppings are included. It's all part of the same thing. Maybe it's a little more expensive, but it's fancy. It's a well curated and developed flavor.
True, but I would say in the subject of pizza, almost the worst pizzas are the best pizzas. If that makes sense. Like, you get some proper like downtown
that's
sloppy pizza. That's some good shit.
It depends, like,
it's gonna kill you, but it's good shit.
I mean, it's what mood you're in, though. Like, you know, sometimes, like, I normally don't have fast food, but every now and again, I'm like, you know, I could really go for fucking McDonald's right now.
Yeah.
Like, normally, I like making my own food. I like eating, like, nicer, healthier stuff. But every now and again, like, I want some fucking junk food.
Yeah.
in the same way that normally, like, the types of games that I like are stuff like that, but every now and again I'm like, hey, I want to play some CSGO.
Exactly.
Oh God. Okay, I think we've beaten that topic to death. Did you have anything else to? No. Did you have something else?
Where do you think like okay? So we've always talked about like video game monetization.
Yeah.
Where do we think that's going to go next? Because it primarily our gripes primarily started out when loot boxes came out. And we've talked about loot boxes to death. What do we think the next step is going to be? Where they're like,
yeah,
I think we can make more money out of these cash whales, as some people call them.
I know I'm not. I don't claim to be like seeing the future here, but this is what I think. Okay. I think video games are going to go in the same direction as Microsoft Office. You don't buy Microsoft Office anymore, you rent it. You do like a subscription. Yeah. There's going to be a video game where you literally cannot play it. You subscribe to it. And then when you subscribe to it, you get all the features of the game, full access. If there's loot boxes and stuff, it's included in the subscription fee. But the moment you unsubscribe, you no longer own the game. And you can't play it at all anymore.
So loot boxes would not be included in the subscription fee. Maybe it'd be like, I don't know, Audible, where you get like a loot box free every month, but it's not free because you're still paying a subscription.
I mean, on a wider scale, we're kind of already there. Xbox Live, when you have Xbox Live Gold, which is like $100 a year, I think, you got 2 free games every month. Yep. They're usually older or less popular games, but you get 2 free.
To be fair, World of Warcraft has been doing subscription fee for donkey's years.
That's true, but that's MMOs. MMOs are another weird beast.
Right, but so you're saying that they would evolve out of MMOs into just mainstream.
I think we're going to see mainstream games adopt the MMO model.
I mean, it's always there with the loot pass, the battle pass things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's battle passes are pretty similar. Even Halo's gonna have battle passes in it now, which saddens me to say, but
yeah,
it's
but
the way
they're going to go till like, you know, reloading a gun or having a certain number of bullets will cost you a certain amount of money.
That'd be like going back to the arcade days where it's like, oh, hey, you want another continue? Put in a quarter.
Exactly. Yeah. God, can you imagine if you had an actual arcade machine in your house that every time you wanted to play, you had to put in a little bit of money?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what live systems were. Like, you like they were there to milk quarters out of people in arcades. So when you had when I had an original like NES, like playing the original Mario Bros. Games, you die 3 times. Oh, you got to start the whole game over again. Yeah. I didn't have to put a quarter in, but.
And then you've got like, oh god, what's it called? It's just flit from my mind. You go on.
Yeah, it's fine. But I do see them trying to find more creative ways to monetize things in the future. Just because, like, video games have become bigger than Hollywood. They have been for years now. Bigger than movie industries.
I was going to say, progress skipping has become a big monetization thing now.
Oh yeah, like the what was it? Assassin's Creed, the Greek one, the one that took place
Odyssey?
during Odyssey. That one you could buy the game for $60, or you could buy the game for
$60 for that piece of crap.
Oh no, I bought it when it was on sale for like $20.
I bought it for like $10 because everyone thought it was shit.
I liked it. I did enjoy it.
It's not bad.
It got grindy. See, but this is the thing. It got grindy around it pulls you in, and it's really interesting in the first half. Then it gets really grindy in the middle, and that's where I dropped it. And that's why when the game came out, you could pay $80 to have it be less grindy, so you level up faster.
Yeah.
And you could pay $100 to have it be even less grindy, and you get a cool skin.
Yeah, they're so dumb. It's the same with.
You're literally you're literally paying more money to play less of the game that you paid more money for.
Sorry about that.
What was that?
I don't know. It sounds like a beaver having sex. Oh, it's a lawnmower. the MMOs.
Yeah.
You can now buy level 60 in World of Warcraft and stuff.
That's a bit of a different beast because it is multiplayer. If you, say, had played the game previously and you don't want to go through all the grinding and you just want to get to the late game, because the late game has fun stuff, has the raids, it has the joining guilds. If you just want to skip all the grind and you've done it before and you want to just get to the guilds and the raiding and stuff, that at least I can see the logic behind paying that extra money.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this big thing about, just keep playing for the first 10 hours and then it'll start getting fun. Thing that
I can think of story games like that too, to be honest, though.
It's really shitty. It's bad game design when you have that. And it is definitely a feature in a lot of things. Hell, even Final Fantasy, the first part is boring as fuck until you get character level 15. Then it suddenly opens up to raids, mounts, the Golden Saucer, which you've been loving.
Yeah, just sitting there playing the stupid Triple Triad card game for about 10 hours.
Exactly.
Do you want to actually play the game? Nope. Gotta get this bitch's card.
Which, if you speedrun it, you could get there in, half an hour, probably.
Yeah.
Just did main story missions. But it is a bit sad when you do get, these great games, but no one plays them because the first however long... I think someone said... God, what game was it they were talking about? Basically, the game got really good after a certain amount of time. And there's an achievement in the game that you get after 2 hours of playing, right?
Yeah. And
that achievement... You know how you see Steam statistics?
Mm-hmm.
Only 40% of the player base had that achievement.
Oof.
So if you've not pulled people in within the first 2 hours, most of your player base is not going to be enjoying your game.
You get similar things with books and movies. You got to have something that hooks people right off the bat. Same thing with TV shows. That's why you see Firefly is a perfect example of this. It didn't hook people with the first few episodes. I mean, granted, the Fox who was airing the show fucked around with the episode order and everything, but it didn't hook people in the first episode and it got canceled. And then by the end of the series, it became a huge cult classic because people watched the whole series and were like, holy shit, this is actually good if you keep watching it.
And then it got cancelled.
But yeah, it got canceled before they could ever film anymore. They eventually made a movie because people loved it so much. But
damn. Yeah, no, it's a shame when these things come out. Anyway, we got wildly off topic.
Yeah, and you thought that we couldn't talk about Splitgate for a while. We've been talking about
because I had a pretty long-winded
rant on mobile games. Yeah. Oh, anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, this should round us out for the first segment, is I've been playing more Not For Broadcast, which indie game that I am thoroughly enjoying. It's making me laugh so often. I'm just so thoroughly entertained by it. It's
video available on the TMCJ YouTube channel.
That's true, actually. The by the time this goes live, there should be 2 of them out already.
Yeah. Do you want to give a quick synopsis of it, because people don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah. So the game is it's sort of a simulation game. You work in the back room of a TV studio, presumably from the 80s or 90s, just judging by the technology and the fact that you're putting in video cassettes to play commercials.
I mean, maybe this speaks on the kind of shit that I watch on YouTube, but it looks a lot like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, it's an FMV game, which, for those that don't know, stands for full motion video. It was a game that was very popular in the 90s, but then sort of disappeared. And it's actual real people acting out the scenes in the game. And so you work in the back room of a TV studio, and your job is to switch the camera angles. If there's an interview, you switch from person who's talking to other person who's talking to wide shot to whatever, just to keep the audience engaged. Your job is to make sure, when it's time to go to commercial, you throw the commercial on. If somebody swears, you got to bleep it out in real time and everything. So there's a little bit of hint, but that's not the kind of game for everyone. Simulation games, they are popular, but not a lot of people are going to go for them. What I love about it, and what has been thoroughly entertaining me, is the satire in it. So it takes place in some... I want to say it takes place in the UK, just because, first of all, everyone in the game has a English accent. In particular, like a northern English accent. Right. And you, like, one of the first news stories you cover is this populist party coming to power and overtaking Labour and the Tories and whatever. They don't call out the other parties in particular, but they come to power and they're one of those, like, eat the rich parties who are like, oh, we're taking all your passports, we're taking all your assets.
Eat the rich?
Yeah. You've never heard people say that?
No.
It's the new, like, trendy thing for the youngins to say, eat the rich.
I wasn't sure if you were trying to say beat the rich or...
No, eat the rich. I've literally heard people say that in earnest. It's weird.
Lucky rich people?
Well, why? They're getting eaten.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, not like that. God damn it. Okay. So they come to power, and it's funny because you're televising their first press conference, and that's how you learn how to use the censor button to bleep out swears, because one of the guys is like, he's got a big pint of beer, and he's slurring, he's like, oh, we're gonna take all your fucking money.
Yeah.
And so I, like, in the video, it's like, oh god, okay, this is why the game is listed as dystopian, because you know, party like this comes to power. They start thinking they're going to do stuff like Stalin did, take the money from and redistribute.
Dystopian? This is like any pub in the UK with a drunk person.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So then in between the parts where you're in the studio, there are story bits where it's all text-based, and you get to make choices based on what you think is the right thing to do. And one of the very first things is your brother-in-law comes over, and apparently he's fairly well off, and him and his wife they've had their passports taken, and they're about to seize all their assets, this new party. And so you have to make the choice: do you give him your passport so he can get out of the country because he kind of looks like you, or do you just let him twist? And I gave him the passport. Of course I gave him the passport. I'm like, fuck it, government ain't stealing from my family.
So you're saying you didn't eat your brother?
No, I didn't eat. What? God damn it. Anyway, so the next day you go back to the studio, and they've got a debate on between an economist and this guy who's basically a parody of Alex Jones.
Okay, yeah. Man, I bet you love that character.
Oh my god. So if you could picture a black British Alex Jones, that's this guy.
Okay. British Alex Jones, okay.
And the guy, and he just comes on and he's like, it's all in my book. And he puts it on the table, and it was just his name was right, or is right, or something like that. And it's just this hilarious little debate there. But what I like is that the game so far has been making fun of everyone. It's making fun of politicians. It's making fun of traditional politicians. It's making fun of like progressive politicians. It's making fun of like conspiracy theorists. It's making fun of the established experts that always think they know best. It's making fun of the news. It's making fun of like just it has pulled no punches so far, and it is just like the parody in it has had me floored laughing multiple times.
Alex Jones has actually been in the news recently.
Really? What for? Well, I mean, usually it's because he said something crazy, but...
Well, it's because he said something that actually turned out to be correct.
Oh, yeah.
About people using...
The harvest, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know if we can
talk about that.
just for... I won't say it explicitly, but essentially, we'll say terminated fetuses... utilizing their parts for like medical research and scientific experimentation. It's
well, apparently while they're still
while they're still viable. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, viable meaning that I'm using very clinical language for the sake of YouTube.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can look it up if you want, but it is very fucked up.
And so Twitter's going, oh my god, Alex Jones is correct about everything. We should make him our new president.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like what makes him like compelling is he says a ton of crazy stuff, and maybe like 10 to 20% of it turns out to be right, and then people are like, holy shit, everything he said is right. Which,
can you imagine if he was the president?
oh my god. I would love watching debates between him and other world leaders. Just, I'd love to watch him talk.
You're wrong. It's turning the frogs gay.
Oh, fucking Alex Jones. Oh god. Okay. But that's it. I've been playing the game and I've been loving it. Like, I think if you're a fan of like satire and you like those kind of simulation games, you'd probably, people probably enjoy it. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, the concept of it kind of reminds me of, this is probably why I thought it was in Russia, it reminds me a lot of Glory to Arstotzka.
Oh, yep. You Papers, Please.
Yeah, but, sorry, I always get that name wrong.
Well, that's because everyone says Glory to Arstotzka. Because the fictional country is Arstotzka.
I've never even played the game, but I always remember the Glory to Arstotzka. Anyway, yeah, like, it's not similar in gameplay terms, but it just gives that kind of vibe.
It has a similar vibe, yeah. I felt the same way. Because another parallel that it has to that game is that in Papers, Please, after you're finished with... Papers, Please, by the way, for those that don't know, you play, like, basically think after the Soviet Union fell, and now there's suddenly borders between former Soviet bloc countries. Now you're a border security guard who's trying to deal with all the people trying to migrate from one country to another. You're checking passports, making sure people aren't smuggling in drugs or weapons or things like that. And you have to deal with more and more and more bureaucracy. And at the end of the day, you go home, and what little money you have has to be used to support your family and like pay for your bills. And it makes it very difficult to do the morally right thing, because like, are you just going to look out for you and yours, or are you going to try to take a stand or something like that? This game has a similar mechanic where after you're done at the TV studio, you go home, and like that thing with the passport, you got to take care of your family and deal with that. I actually did so badly on the level I played yesterday that they docked my pay, so now I am quote, in crippling poverty, according to the game.
Oof. Well,
waiting for my stimulus check.
There you go.
All right. Well, any final thoughts before we close out segment 1?
Nope.
All right. This is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, our media segment, and we did movie night this week. We watched a movie that, until we started going with it, like, first of all, it was Alicia's choice this week. She chose the movie yesterday, which I had never finished, but I saw the first half of it on a plane until it got so cringy I switched and watched something else. And I wish I had finished it, because actually now, having seen the whole movie, it has a good ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, God. All right.
I'll just give the synopsis.
Yeah. So, my running theory, by the way, so the movie is about a guy, this British dude who is like kind of an amateur singer-songwriter. He works in like a warehouse shop or like a big wholesaler or something like that to pay the bills. But him and his childhood friend, who's also his manager, like, they go around and get him whatever gigs he can, but usually it's like children's parties and stuff like that.
His music manager, not his work manager.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, I realized I lumped those together. His work manager.
I got very confused in my head for a second there.
His work manager's a dick. Yeah,
no, his work manager's just a normal manager.
So you get to the thing is, like, I'm gonna start off right off the bat where it's very clear, like, what the character dynamics in this movie are right from the very beginning. Like, he's this very ambitious person who's just never been able to find that big break for himself. The girl clearly is super into him, but he's just never noticed her or something like that.
He reminds me a lot of Ramesh Ranganathan.
Who?
If you know who that is.
No, yeah, never heard of him.
It's a British comedian. You quite like his comedy, I think.
Okay. But yeah, so there's that. He's going home, like, after some very unsuccessful gig again. He's being driven home by his manager, and they get into a bit of a fight, and he gets out of the car and just decides he's gonna ride his bike home from her place or something like that. I don't remember exactly how that first bit happens. Doesn't matter. He ends up on a bike riding home late at night, and he gets hit by a bus.
Yep.
And when he comes to, he's lost a couple teeth because he get hit with the bus, but he's alive. And he's talking to a couple of his friends, and his old guitar gets smashed up because he had it on his back when he got hit by the bus. And so his friends get him a new guitar. And they're all at a pub sitting outside, having a couple drinks to celebrate him being alive and getting out of the hospital. And they're like, oh, play something on the guitar. And he decides to play Yesterday by the Beatles. Really good song. Right off the bat, like the whole theme of this movie is it's all centered around the Beatles. I'm going to say something controversial. I'm not really I like some of their music, but a lot of their music is just really annoying to me. Or it's just not, it doesn't, maybe it's because I'm not from the 60s, it doesn't touch me in the way it seems to a lot of people.
Yeah. Sorry, it's because of the conversation before the podcast. When I was a kid, Beatles never really appealed to me all that much. I mean, Yellow Submarine, yeah, because I was a kid and it's a fun song to sing when you're drunk. Not that I was drunk as a kid. But yeah, I think having grown up, there are a few of those, because they have quite a variety in their songs. Their songs aren't like a lot of bands where they get one good hit and then they just base all their other songs off of that song.
Their versatility definitely did lend well to them. Which, by the way, they do have one song that they have that is really well loved that I absolutely despise is Imagine. The Imagine All the People.
Yeah, they pull it out every New Year's, I think.
I hate that song. Not because it's a bad song. Musically, it's very nice. But if you actually listen to the lyrics, they're singing about a dystopia. They're singing about a horror world.
I mean, they are quite hippie, which is kind of opposite of you, I suppose. So you're not the targeted.
I guess, yeah, that's a good point. They weren't. They were singing about, I guess, some kind of communist utopia, and which is a hellscape for someone like me. But no, one of the songs that always stuck with me that I love singing because it's just so fucking stupid, and silly, and also pretty fucked up. And you're gonna have to suffer through me singing for a few seconds because I got to do the intro to it because it's great. It's so you know the song Maxwell's Silver Hammer?
No.
Oh my god. Okay, so it starts off. Joan was quizzical, studied metaphysical science and the home. Late nights all alone with a test tube. Oh.
Is this a Beatles song?
It is.
Oh.
Hold on. Maxwell Edison majoring in medicine calls her on the phone. Can I take you out to the pictures, Joan? But as she's getting ready to go, a knock comes on the door. Bang, bang, Maxwell's Silver. It's a song about a sociopath that just goes around killing people with a hammer, and it's called Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
Oh. Yeah, they did. I noticed how they didn't put in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds either, because it's heavily... Huh?
I like that song. I actually really like it.
It's all about crystal meth.
Yeah. I mean, they were hippies and druggies, so
Yeah.
You know.
It's like they left. I think they tactically chose the songs that they used. They had Lady Madonna in there. It's a pretty upbeat one. And then they also hinting a lot at what was the song called? It's my favourite one as well. The one that he couldn't quite remember the lyrics to.
Abbey Road? No. I don't know.
What's it called? Eleanor Rigby. Thank you.
Eleanor Rigby. Okay, yeah.
I really like that song. It's only like 2 minutes long,
Mm.
and it's quite sad, but it's, I don't know, I find it really nice.
So
And they never end up fully singing it.
So, maybe they couldn't get the rights. Maybe that one's independent. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, picking up where we left off, now that we've had our rant on the Beatles, he sings Yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And all of his friends at the pub are just like, that song was beautiful. When did you write that? Like,
Yeah.
and he's confused, and he's like, he goes on talking about the Beatles and stuff like that, and no one has any idea what he's talking about. And he goes home and Googles it, and he can't find anything about them. And then he goes and talks to the female childhood friend, and she's like, do you seriously not remember anything about the Beatles? And his first idea isn't to go like, oh my god, I've traveled to another dimension, I need to figure out what else has changed. It's, no, I've got to claim all of the Beatles songs as my own and become famous. And so...
Yep.
So he goes out and he does more gigs and stuff, and he plays the Beatles songs. And
He finds out that Coke is not in this world.
yeah, people give him a weird look because they're like, Coke? Because they think he's asking for cocaine.
Yeah. Although technically Coke fuel is still, as far as I'm aware, in that world. So he could be asking for charcoal.
For charcoal, yeah. Yeah, possible. Although why would he be asking for that on an airline?
I'm looking for something flammable. Have you got anything?
Okay. And so he goes on and he starts to become more and more popular, records an album, giving it out to people. He gets a call from somebody in the car, and he thinks it's a prank call, but it turns out to be Ed Sheeran, who... I'll admit, I had no fucking idea who Ed Sheeran was when I saw this movie the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's pretty fucking famous.
I've probably heard his... I don't listen to pop music.
He really didn't do well in this film, though. He's definitely not an act.
No. It's very clearly, hey, we wanted to get a real life... It's always like... It's like when they put real world like news anchors into TV shows or movies to make it seem like it's the real life news. It just comes off as a little weird. But yeah. I probably heard some of his music. I had no idea who the fuck he was. But I first saw this movie in like 2019, and I saw half of it on a plane. And I just remember thinking, like, who the fuck is Ed Sheeran? I thought it was a singer they made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he comes in and...
it's cringe.
It is pretty cringy, but he invites him to go on tour with him. They go to Russia, which he... does the song Back in the USSR by the Beatles. And
in a completely different time zone where, USSR isn't a thing.
I remember watching that and thinking, like, isn't this in like horribly bad taste? You're like, oh, back when you were a horribly oppressive dictatorship and everyone was dying. That's a song I want to sing.
I mean, it was a pretty good song.
It is a good song. I'm just saying.
The time and place.
It's like, singing a song called Back in the Reich in Germany. Like, it's just, why would you do that? Yeah, remember that time you guys were a dictatorship and a bunch of people died?
Jeez. Just start doing springtime, but...
Springtime! No, okay, I'm not going to sing that.
Not the no word.
But yeah, so that goes on, and he has like a songwriting contest with Ed Sheeran, and he just pulls another Beatles song out of his ass.
So dumb. Like, he doesn't just pull the lyrics out of his ass, he pulls the fucking piano piece out of his ass. And it's like, how good is this guy at music that he can just play that song?
Yeah, and then Ed Sheeran pulls a pouty face and tells somebody to sleep with him and then goes to bed. And then that's the end of that. And then he gets signed on with the the same agency, which, by the way, the music studio agency, like, people are like just such an over the top parody of like
very blunt.
She's like just like every scene with her is hilarious because it's basically like a cartoon version of what Hollywood executives are like.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, you write songs for us, and we make shitloads of money and we give you some of it, or something like that. It's just such a stupid.
It's like it's the classic
evil
devil's contract thing where the devil offers you a lot of money in exchange for not seeing your family again, and they do it like normally the devil is kind of tactful and coy.
Yeah,
this bitch is just like literally, you will stay in America and do what we say, and we'll give you a little bit of the money while we make a lot of money.
Yeah,
and like it was such a weird scene because it's kind of trying to be a realistic film, and then they come out with something like that, and it's like, this is clearly, like, the plot is so obvious.
Devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. Sorry. I'm just in a singing mood this morning.
You are very musical.
That was one reason that it's at one point during the movie I thought, oh, maybe he's not in another dimension. Maybe he's in a coma because he got hit by the bus.
As far as I'm aware, the whole film is about him being in a coma.
Is it actually?
As far as I'm aware. Like, as far as I'm concerned, sorry, I should say.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see any indications in the movie explicitly saying that, but that was what I started to think when all these weird, like, over-the-top parodies of people started showing up. And he started having hallucinations of yellow submarines and stuff.
No, he didn't have hallucinations.
They made it look like he was having hallucinations. He wasn't, but they made it look like he was. When he was in the press conference, like, they made it seem like he was going crazy.
It was that other dude who was like, we know the songs as well. That's why he brought the submarine.
Yeah, they reveal it that way, but they were making it look like he was going crazy before that in the movie. So
how hard must it have been to get their hands on a toy yellow submarine in a world where yellow submarine was not a song though? Like, in Russia.
Yeah, that is odd. But anyway, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. So he does that. He becomes famous, and because of that, it kind of drives a wedge between him and childhood friend, and she kind of reveals, in one of the most infuriating scenes in the whole movie, she basically comes right out and says, like, why don't you love me, or something like that. And he clearly has feelings for her.
And then he walks out.
And he just walks out, and he doesn't say anything. Is this man a eunuch?
Well, like, that's how I felt when he signed on with the devil. Like, it was the exact same thing. And then it happens again later. I won't do details because you're still going through it. But, like, at the cafe.
I think I have a better way to summarize this movie. The world's dumbest man steals all of the Beatles music, becomes famous, and lives happily ever after. That's the whole movie summary. There are nice parts, there are wholesome parts, the music's good, and it has kind of a sweet story, but the main character is a fucking moron in so many ways.
It's like someone had a really good idea for a movie, and then they just went the most plain Jane, simplest, obvious storyline they could, just so that they could say that storyline.
You know what I think is, and this is me being super cynical, is I think some studio executive in Hollywood saw how successful Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie about Queen, did,
and that really was a good film.
That was an excellent film, and they were like, we need a chunk of that cash, and so they made a quick movie like this.
I should say every moment where there was singing going on, it was great.
Yes,
like
agreed.
Every moment the Beatles music was playing, it was great.
Agreed.
It was the romance part really didn't grab me in this.
The story was basically just a vehicle for them to have an excuse to play Beatles songs. That's really...
And then the fucking dick over at the end really annoyed me. But I'm sure you're going to get to that.
Yeah. So, drives a wedge between them. She reveals that he doesn't do anything like an absolute fucking tool. He goes back to America and then realizes that, oh shit, I still have feelings for this girl, and he wants to talk to her. They almost sleep together. And then, because he was back in the UK for some reason.
He went to Liverpool so that he could say he's been to the grave and the street.
Yeah. And so, they almost sleep together. She panics because it's like, oh, it's a one-night stand. Which, by the way, they drink, like, an amount of booze that is just beyond reckoning.
Do they?
Oh my god, yeah. They have like 3 beers at the restaurant, then they have like brandy afterwards, then they're like knocking back shots, then they're drinking a whole bunch of nips in the hotel room. And I'm like, how are you two not dead?
That just sounds like a good night.
Well, yeah, I guess they could...
It's a lot of different drinks, though, yeah. I can see how that would be kind of gross.
No, yeah, like... Oh, anyway. Another little pet peeve. Again, I think they were just doing it for effect, trying to drive home the fact of how awkward and socially inept these two losers are. That doesn't happen. He wakes up hungover the next day, wakes up his friend, realizes he's made a huge mistake, he's got to chase after her, and then she dumps him at the train station.
No, she doesn't.
She does. Well, no, she sort of does. She even
gives him a chance to stay there with her, and then
you're right.
Doesn't.
You're right, she does. You're right. She says, like, if he I remember getting mad about this in the movie, though, because... Yeah, actually, I have it written down in my... Because I wrote in the podcast prep notes... yeah, this is from the train station scene. I wrote, her insecure ass wants him to give up everything just to prove he's loyal. And it's...
I think it's fair.
I do... On retrospect, like, I do think it's a little bit more fair than I wasn't giving her enough credit. Because this guy has spent his entire... Like, in isolation in that scene, I'd say she was the one in the wrong. Because she's asking him to give up everything about himself just to prove that some inarticulate feeling that she had, just to make her feel more secure. And that's fucked up. But in context, this guy has been wishy-washy and not willing to commit for his entire life. And she has had to deal with that. So in that context, I understand why she's asking him to give this up and just be devoted to her.
My point of view is that the only thing tying him to America is the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could still do all the Beatles songs in England.
Okay.
And for her, all of her family and friends are in England, and her job is in England, and he came from England, so why wouldn't he want to stay in England? So I can kind of see it even more from her side.
Gonna put this in another context. With all that money, just commute. Live in England and commute to America. I used to work with a guy he was close to retirement, but he was a contractor, and our company was it was in central Massachusetts. He lived in Pennsylvania. He just flew over to Massachusetts every week.
It's a bit more than flying across the ocean though every week.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, for a musician, like, he could do his singing and songwriting over in England, and then when it's time to record an album or perform, just fly to America.
I think they could... I mean, with the amount of money they'd be bringing in, they could just make a studio in England. True.
So, I think that there's, like... But again, this guy... We've all already established this guy has no balls. So, there's no way he would have been able to, like, say that to Devil Woman and, like, get her to actually... Like, if he had some balls, he would have been able, like, hey, you want this talent? Like, you want these songs? Like, I'm recording in England. I gotta be here because my girl's here.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry. Gotta finish the movie. I keep like, stopping and going on rants. I keep going on rants because the movie was good. I should say, re-emphasize that. The movie was good, but there are bits of it that pissed me off so much. Anyway, so she goes off. He doesn't stay with her. He goes back to America, and then goes to, like, a marketing meeting. And this was one of the most hilarious scenes, because
quite funny.
There's a guy who's he's up on... This is, I think, how somebody who has never worked in an office pictures how offices operate, where some, like this big corporate executive, he's in a suit and he's like, we're going to talk about marketing, and they've got like 24 people at the table whose sole purpose is there to just clap for the guy giving the speech. And they announce, like, they look over the covers that he has suggested, and all of the covers that he's suggested were covers that the Beatles used.
Yeah.
But
they made no sense without the context. Like, they had history. He doesn't have any of that, so it makes no sense from him.
Well, this movie... I think that the main character is honestly just not a good person. Everything about him.
The whole thing is about him stealing credit, so yeah. He's not a good person.
He's stealing credit. He's ignoring the monumental feat that he has jumped to a different dimension. He's not willing to devote himself to the woman who clearly loves him and that he clearly loves. He is he doesn't have the guts to actually he's essentially achieved his dream with basically zero effort. He just suddenly he is the equivalent of the person who wins the lottery and then just, they didn't struggle or anything to get that, and they suddenly have all this money and they don't know what to do with it. And so usually those people end up being developing a drug habit. But
so wait, I know you just said he went to another dimension. If at the beginning, when the lights all went out across the world, and he hadn't been hit by a bus, I would have agreed that it was a different dimension. But the fact that he got hit by the bus means that it's a coma, in my opinion.
I mean, it could be any of those. Yeah, it could be his dying brain trying to make sense of the last moments of life. You never know. But
personally, I think Life on Mars did it better. But whatever. You've not seen that, have you?
I haven't. No, but I know of the movie. I know what you're referring to.
That lead actress. So.
Yeah. No. Anyway. One of the things that made me laugh the most in this scene is one of the album covers the Beatles used was just called White, and it was just a blank white cover. And the marketing guy's like, we can't do that in this day and age. Calling the album White, that has some problematic undertones and stuff like that.
And it's a fair point. You couldn't have got away with that in this day and age, probably not.
Right, yeah, because everything is racialized now. But
yeah.
So the marketing meeting happens. They move on. And they get to, he eventually, that's when he just realizes, this is soulless. I don't like this anymore. I liked what I had back in the UK better. And he finds out that his girlfriend, not girlfriend, but his old friend who, once he comes to this revelation, turns out she's already dating someone new. And it was
the recording artist he originally was with.
Yeah, the first guy who had this basically the equivalent of a basement studio, and they recorded his first album there, and so the two of them got together. But he pulls off this very elaborate thing, where they do a big concert in a stadium in the UK.
Ed Sheeran is, yeah.
Yeah, and. Ironic, yeah. This was funny. They had Ed Sheeran opening up for this guy. Was what happened.
Well, no, I think he wasn't even supposed to be there, but then
maybe
he called Ed Sheeran and was like, "I just want to have a little word at the end."
Oh yeah. So anyway, but he goes up and he uses that opportunity to confess his love to the girl, on stage, and puts her on camera to the millions of people there, and not millions. Which is
really fucking mean.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of the people who propose at big sports games. They put them on the screen and say
I'm sure.
Dude, that shit's wicked cringy. But... Some people like it. No,
because then you literally are taking away the option for them to say no.
Or if they do say no, it's fucking awkward as hell.
I mean, I've never seen anyone say no. But...
Oh, I've seen it. There are cringe compilations on YouTube that you can look at.
Of course there are.
We can look at a few of them later if you want, but they're bad. Oh god, it's so bad. Anyway, so she does end up, liking him, and they confess their feelings to each other, and then the new guy that she's dating is extremely he's just, so he walks in, it's so this is awkward or something like that. But yeah. What's nice about this is, I don't know if you caught this, there was a look between him and the girl's sister.
Yeah, no, it's stupid. I'm sorry, it's fucking stupid. It's not nice. It's oh, okay, you're going out with my friend now instead of me.
Just
I guess I'll bang your sister instead. It's kind of fucked up. It's pretty fucked up.
It is. But
imagine sitting across, they get married, right?
Yeah.
Sitting across the dining table with the family, And you fucked your friend's wife.
I mean, more power to that guy. He worked his way through the whole family.
Keeping it in the family, yep.
It's just
fucking weird. I'm sorry,
I don't think it's ever explicitly stated how far their relationship had gone. Like, it's not... It didn't seem like they'd gotten as far as, actually sleeping together yet. But maybe they did.
Maybe.
I mean, honestly, it's funnier if they did, but...
I think the main character is an asshole for doing that. I think the girl is an asshole for accepting him. Especially when she doesn't even look happy about it and she still fucking accepts it. Yeah. And then the guy that got cucked, which is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Is an asshole for then going out with the sister.
Yeah. The song at the end was nice, though.
What was the song?
I don't remember. I think it was some Ed Sheeran song they did a cover of, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was a pretty song.
You know, I remember what made it better?
What?
If they didn't have Ed Sheeran and instead they had T-Swizzle.
Fucking Taylor Swift. Oh my god. No, screw all that. Let's just get Kanye West in there. Every time he tried to start a song, yeah. Hey, I'm gonna let you finish, but... No, actually, no, screw that. Get T-Pain. That's who we needed.
T-Pain? I know the name, I don't know what he sings.
He's a rapper that got, famous, or hip-hop rapper, kind of, he got famous for using autotune a lot.
Right.
And now he's a Twitch streamer, and he actually has a huge following, and he does really, he raps his intros, and he does it, off the cuff every time, and it's fucking hilarious. Cool. I love watching him just to see the intros.
Yeah. Damn.
Genuine talented dude, actually. And I actually know who he is, unlike Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, yeah. He's just, I don't know. He's a bit too old to be having the teenage frumpy look now.
I just thought. So, big question. Who was your favorite character in this movie? Because I have one in mind, and I want to see if you can guess who mine was after you say yours.
Oh, well, I'm going to guess yours is the stand-in manager.
Stand-in manager.
The dude?
Oh, the dude with the fro who's like...
Yeah.
No, it's not him.
Okay.
All right, who's yours?
He was a bit too cringy for me.
Yeah, he was kind of cringy. Although he was funny. I did... The scenes...
There were funny parts, yeah, but there were also cringy parts that he did, and I was like...
I loved when he told off Ed Sheeran in the plane. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a cringy moment.
It was cringy, but I
when
did...
he was doing the rap thing.
The rap was cringy, but before that, when he was, he's like, oh, Ed Sheeran, I like your stuff. It's like, especially the rap stuff. And Ed Sheeran's like, really? He's like, no. That made me... I got a laugh out of that. But no, so who's your favorite character?
Oh, God, I have to think now. The mum? I don't know. I didn't really.
That's actually ironic because my favorite character was the main character's dad. The main character's dad was awesome because he just didn't give a shit.
I don't. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure if there are any particular characters that I like. Did you have a particular favorite character?
She got her headphones in.
Do you have a favorite character from the film? She's thinking very hard.
Blue's got an audience for this episode of the podcast.
Say again? You don't remember any of the characters? No. Okay, well there we go.
I think that that adequately sums up the movie because the story really was just there to get us through.
I have got an answer actually. The Paul McCartney.
You can't see her making fun of you in the background.
I can see my screen. I can see her doing this. The Paul McCartney.
Oh, you know what? The guy he got the one who lived or whatever that he went to see in the country. That actor is amazing. I've seen him in a few things, and everything I've seen him in has been amazing.
He just seemed like the only character who was kind of sane and had some kind of relatability.
Yeah. Well, I love it when he hugs him after that whole scene, and then he's like, "Sir, you badly need mental help."
Yeah.
But no, I like the main character's dad, especially for two scenes. One, when he was trying to play him that song on the piano, and he just kept interrupting him.
Yeah,
and
I
two,
recognize the actor for that dude, by the way.
Oh yeah, who was
yeah,
it?
he's in. Oh, fuck, what's the dad in? The dad, yeah. It's in a program that I don't watch, but I do recognize the guy.
The other scene was when Ed Sheeran first comes to his house, and the dad's just like, it's the middle of the night, comes out in a bathrobe, and he's, trying awkwardly moving around Ed Sheeran, trying to find coffee. and then he, when he finally finds it, he looks at him, he's like, "You look like Ed Sheeran." And then the guy's like, "I am Ed Sheeran." And he's like, "All right." And then he just leaves.
Yeah, that was quite good.
This is, I think, the takeaway from this movie, and I think the most important thing is that the songs were good. It's not a very intelligent story, but it is it's entertaining. There's a few cringy moments in it that are kind of rough to get past.
Yeah, and it ends with the company that he's working for. They sue the shit out of him because he just released all the songs for free, which he doesn't actually have ownership anymore because they they own the songs, and so he has to go into hiding for the rest of his life because he's an idiot. All right, go on.
Well, no, I think that's the main character's a fucking moron. We've said that multiple times. But it's a sweet. I think there is the weird love story that they have there. I mean, have you ever seen the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Nope.
It's another movie that has kind of a weird story and a weird romance in it, but I still find it oddly sweet. We should watch that movie sometime for movie night, because it's quite good.
Also, don't you just fucking love their upload speed to the internet for a whole album?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi on that tablet was ridiculous.
It was so good. And they had a literal, just like the whole screen was just one loading bar. It's like, what program are they using? I gotta get that shit.
Got BitTorrent on my fucking tablet, but the upload speed was whenever they put technology in movies, it's always something like that. Like, I love watching hacking in Hollywood movies because it's always like, let's slap on a keyboard.
Yeah. Just face planting the keyboard repeatedly, and it's just lines of code.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was, like not too long ago, I was watching the original Digimon anime. And some of the lines of code that Izzy types are actually like lines of code.
Yeah, right?
They don't make any sense. But now I can read them, I'm like, this is actually coding language written horribly.
Well, I mean, give the kid a break. He's like, what, 10 in that show?
He's writing HTML, and that's like changing the entire fucking world. It's like
the entire Digimon universe is coded in HTML.
It's like really CSS. It's just basic blocks.
Basic HTML. All right. We've gotten off topic, and I do feel like I need to explain that because not a lot of people are going to get that joke.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
it's not even a joke. That's literally...
Well, it's a joke to anyone that does any kind of coding. So, like, actual programming languages that allow you to do things are things like C++ or Java or Python or, stuff like that. And it's quite complicated on the back end, or can be. HTML is basically a way to tell, like, it's what tells, it makes a website look pretty. Like, essentially.
No, HTML isn't that. CSS makes it look pretty. HTML's just the foundation.
Oh, right, yeah, because you put CSS plugins into yeah, okay. I haven't done HTML since college, so...
Yes,
but basically, it's not like a real coding language. It's just like, it's scaffolding, essentially.
Yeah.
It's the coding equivalent of scaffolding.
It's what everything needs.
But it doesn't
but it's
really...
the very basicest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the bread of the sandwich. Anyway, yeah, so summary of the movie, final thoughts from me. Protagonist is a moron. Music was really good. Story is incredibly contrived and simplistic, but not unenjoyable to watch. If you can find this movie for free, or if somebody like has it and it's like, hey, we want to put something on, it's worth a look.
Yeah, I would quantify it as there's several funny jokes, and if you like Beatles music, you're probably gonna like it. Just don't look at the story.
Yeah. All right. That's that. But yeah, so now we're going to be moving on to a much more prevalent piece of media, or much more
37 minutes into the recording.
Yeah, no, this is the outro. Calm down. A much more high quality piece of media, Morning Star, the third book in the Red Rising Trilogy, which we'll be getting to in segment 3. So
I thought you were gonna start launching into the tirade about the other thing you've been watching the week.
No. I know we filled up the whole segment talking about this, and I do want to get to Morning Star, and hopefully get through the whole thing this episode. So, all right, this is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wild card, and we're back to the book review. This will be the last, potentially the last, in a series where Blue got me to finally read the Red Rising Trilogy, the original one. Quite a good sci-fi series that I've been thoroughly enjoying. We've already talked about the first 2 books, which are called Red Rising and Golden Sun, I think was the second one, right?
I like how you're delicately referring to it as being not the only series. And you're like trying not to mention that there's a 4th book.
There are other books, and I can see why it didn't need to go on, but why people would have wanted to, because they built up quite an interesting universe over the course of the 3 books. Oh, yeah. And spoiler for the end of this, the book does have quite a good ending, I thought. But because there's quite a bit to talk about, I'm going to see if I can fit it into one segment, but yeah, maybe we'll split it in half like we did with the other 2. So this book opens up where the last one ended. So if remember, the Golden Sun ends in absolute disaster. At the peak of his success, Darrow is there's a triumph being thrown for him, and then boom, an ambush. The Jackal leads some people with some other factions that are more loyal to the Sovereign, and they slaughter everyone who's there, and they slaughter the Augustans, the guy who killed his wife, who he was working with, and then he wasn't working with, and then he ingratiated himself to.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Caesar or something?
Nero.
All
right, he was named after a Roman emperor. That reminded me. Yeah, his name was Nero Augustus, or something like that. And so he gets shot in the face by his own son at the end of the book. They give him a box that's got... he was betrayed by the poet guy, Roke. One of his other friends gets shot in the back, and she's, like, crawling to him, like, begging him to, like, believe that she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, she gets, like, her spine shot.
Yeah, by her own sister.
Yeah.
And
the sister was always a bitch, and she even thought that, but, like...
Oh, yeah. But, and then it ends with him, like, having a box open in front of him, and it's got the head of Severo, his best friend's father, in it. The guy who was actually Ares.
Yeah, we should say not Severo. Severo's head was not in the box.
Yeah, the father of Severo. I said his father.
It's because you said the head of Severo.
His father. Yeah. Sorry, I said that quite poorly. Yeah, Severo's father, the guy who was actually secretly the leader of the
I'm trying to remember what the goal
Sons of Ares. Sons of Ares. And he was called Ares. So he's dead, murdered by Cassius, the guy who Darrow beat in a duel, who used to be his best friend at the academy, but then found out he killed his brother and then fucked him up. And so that's where the book ends. And this book opens up with Darrow, like, locked away in basically this dark cell that he can't really move around properly in. He's got tubes in him that are taking care of, like, nutrients and waste and everything like that. And he's nearly gone insane from being tortured and then dropped into this isolation cube.
Yeah, so there's literally the size of a coffin kind of thing that he's stuck in. He can't move, but he can't die either.
Yeah.
And it's pitch black.
And it's implied that he's been in there for quite a considerable amount of time, but as happens
he can occasionally hear small voices.
Yes, yeah, and he hears voices, and he's thinking he's going crazy. because he thinks that there are people talking to him. And anyway, it's not clear how long he's been in there, because when you're in isolation like that, you tend to lose track of time. Like that's what
I think it's months.
Well, they reveal that, but what I'm saying is, at this point, from his perspective, it's not certain. It could be months, it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be years. Because people in sensory deprivation lose track of time without anything to actually orient to. Anyway, so he's finally taken out. When he starts trying to kill himself, he finally snaps and he starts slamming his head against the stone thing, trying to kill himself. And so they open the thing, and it turns out he was being kept in a coffee table. Like, he was in a table in the Jackal's study, and in the room are one of the, what are they called, harpies? The people that serve the sovereign. Her like, she has like an Amazon guard, essentially, of like an all-female retinue of gold
the
guards.
mythical Amazon, not the shopping.
Yeah, sorry, the mythical Amazon, the mythical female warriors, not the shopping site.
They're holding box cutters, looking very menacing.
So she's there, and so is Cassius, and I think
Broke is, I think, as well.
Broke and maybe Aja. No, Aja's the name of the harpy. She is Aja. Yeah.
But also Quinn, I think was it Quinn?
No, Quinn was the one that she killed. It was Victor's sister. No, Victor was the one that got shot in the back. It was Victor's sister.
Got shot in the back.
It was her sister. What's her? It starts with an A. I can't remember her name.
I was about to say Augustus. Yeah, go on, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So it turns out that the Jackal...
Astra?
Maybe. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, so the Jackal's there to... Like, he's turning him over to the Sovereign so that the Sovereign can officially execute him or something like that, or do something, or dissect him or whatever, because they've found out that he's a red that's been cut and turned into a gold.
It wasn't Aja.
No, because I said Aja, and Aja is the harpy. Okay. She's the bodyguard of the Sovereign.
Yeah, sorry.
That's what I said too, because I was thinking Aja, but no, Aja's a different character. Anyway, so there's some dialogue between them. It's clear that there's a bit of distaste for how he was treated. Cassius actually looks at him almost pityingly, despite the hatred that runs between the two. Well, not hatred, but bad blood, I guess you could say, that runs between them.
Yeah.
And they escort him down to be essentially processed. And he's being escorted by two Greys. Greys being like the military and policing caste in the society, if you remember. And
basically regular humans.
Yeah. Greys, I think, are the closest to regular humans of today out of any of them.
Yeah, or Reds
are like they're like stunted humans, like malnourished, shorter, weaker.
But they've got no, they're not weaker because they work in the mines.
No, it's implied they're much weaker, but they're more dexterous.
Okay.
But they are implied to be like really short. Talking like somewhere between like 4.5 to 5 feet tall, like most of them. Whereas the average human today is like 5'5" or 5'6" or 5'7". It's like between 5'5" and 5'6", I think, is something like the global average, depending on if you're talking about men or women.
Right.
But anyway, so they're escorting him down, and then he starts to panic and go like, "Oh, they're not going to take me," and everything like that. And it's revealed, like the Greys almost have to put him down because they reveal that they're actually Sons of Ares agents. They're actually people there to set him free. They've been sent by, the Sons of Ares organization to get him out. And he doesn't believe them at first, so they have to make some kind of a super secret special call. And it turns out Severo is now leading the Sons of Ares now that his dad's dead.
Yeah. And
so they have a quick heart-to-heart, and Darrow almost breaks down because it's just such, like, he's finally out. He's so relieved. And as they're going out, a couple things go wrong. One of the Jackal's people starts to get chatty and suspicious in an elevator that they're all in. And Darrow, like, they manage to subdue him and take him down, and under pain of death, he reveals. Well, first of all, he reveals kind of in a mocking way that Victra is there inside the facility too, and Darrow's like,
quite dead.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we gotta get her out too, and the Greys don't want to do it. They're like, we barely have time to get you out. There's not time for this. We have no plan, but he insists, and what they do is with this guy, they use him to open the door that she's in, and she's being tortured too. She's in like a plain, like very brightly lit white room that's constantly pumped through with like obnoxious static and noise and stuff. So she's being tortured in a different way.
Of Darrow.
Yeah, the opposite of Darrow. Like, he was sensory deprivation, she's getting sensory overload. And like her spine is still, fucked up. But again, another point to emphasize how strong the Golds are compared to normal people. Even crippled as she is, stuck in this cell, when the Grey tries to get near her, she panics and like punches her so hard that it like dents the Grey's armor and throws her against the wall. And I just thought that was a really cool scene. And so they eventually stun her, like knock her out and take her out of the cell. And they're gonna leave. The alarms go off. They're gonna leave the Gold there in the cell and just let him live. And then he makes like one last sarcastic remark to Darrow, and he snaps and just goes like, okay, fuck this guy, and he goes back in and kills him.
Yeah.
So they try to escape. Their original escape route doesn't work. The elevator they're in gets hacked, and instead of going down, it starts going up, and they know there's going to be a big contingent of people outside waiting for him. But the Greys he's with are like special forces people, so they like toss out an EMP grenade. It wipes out all the high-tech weapons, and then they have like conventional like gunpowder weaponry, and they use that to just wipe the floor with the people who are waiting for him at the top of the elevator.
Throwing an EMP in a lift.
Yeah, you better hope there's some mechanical locks in there, right? But
yeah.
So they
make it out.
They make it out, and as they're trying to escape, they know that there's another escape point that they have to get out. And the two Greys, a little bit of character building there. They're brother and sister. They're both special forces. They've been in for a long time. While they're waiting, they realize it's going to be 10 minutes before their last escape route is going to come through, which isn't nearly enough time. So they're doing what they can to hold the bridge. They put like charges on the bridge to blow it up. But too little too late. Aja and Cassius and them come out, and they, like, the one female Grey, she gets shot. And then as her brother, who was setting the charges, is going running back, Aja like shanks him through the chest.
Yep.
With a razor. And there's this very tense standoff between Darrow and them and Cassius, and it's clear that Cassius is like almost a broken man at this point. Like, his honor is all he has left. And so he doesn't even want to be doing what because he's lost most of his family in the last book and everything. Darrow has this big standoff, and then he seems to figure something out because the Grey like says something to him. And he realizes the escape route is actually below and behind them, because they've put up a shield over top of the place, so no one can come in from the air. But what's actually happening is they've got Reds drilling up from the ground. So he jumps off, somebody with grab boots catches him, there's a very harrowing escape scene, and he wakes up like a day or so later, heavily injured, but in their medical facility.
Yeah, with Severo being a right creep.
Severo is always fucking creepy. Didn't Severo... Yeah, because he wakes up and Severo has two eyes again.
Yeah.
And it's quickly revealed that that Darrow's old red eyes were still like being kept in a jar by the guy that turned him into a Gold. And Severo had those eyes grafted into him. And so he's like, oh yeah, they're your eyes. They should look familiar. They're your eyes. And then Darrow's like, has this almost look of disgust or something. And Severo's like... Do you want them back?
He's like, you don't want them back, do you? Like, panicking.
Yeah, it was... He's like, is it... That's not weird, is it? And he's like, yeah, it kind of is. Severo's just an awesome character in general.
He is.
Anyway, so This whole next sequence is Darrow kind of being reoriented to what's happened since he was out.
He gets initiated into the Howlers.
That takes a little bit. That's a bit later. So he first of all, they introduce the city of Ares, which is this kind of unknown mine that officially doesn't exist, and they've been taking refugees from mines and stuff all over the place. Because it's revealed that the Jackal, since he took over as Arch-Governor of Mars, has been much more brutal with the Reds than any of his predecessors. Like, if there's even a hint that there might be some dissent, he just gasses the mine.
Yeah.
And so they've been kind of taking refugees from all over the planet, and they're all kind of gathered there. They're, low on food, low on supplies, but they're still doing, like, hit-and-run tactics. And Darrow's family is there. It's revealed, so he gets to see them all again. His brother makes a reappearance, and his brother's sons and grandsons and whatnot. And so he's getting pushed around in a wheelchair, seeing everyone. Ragnar's there. And
Ragnar's dad... is Ragnar the dad?
No, Ragnar's the Obsidian.
Yeah. The father. Oh, wait, no, not Ragnar. Telemanus.
Oh, yeah. But I don't think he's there yet.
He's getting on well with Darrow's mum.
He shows up later. He's not there yet.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
But there is a very wholesome scene between Ragnar and Darrow's family. Like, all the grandkids and stuff are like... Because, keep in mind, Obsidians are like, 2.5 meters tall. They're these fucking towering behemoths.
They're
and
bigger than the Golds, and the Golds are way bigger than the Reds.
Yeah, and Ragnar's, it's said, is big for an Obsidian.
Yeah.
And so all the kids are like, they're all climbing up and down him, and they're braiding his beard and stuff like that. It's a very wholesome scene. So after all the catching up is done, and he then starts to learn about the tactical situation. And this is where he learns that Severo had released a video of them turning Darrow into a Gold to reveal that he actually is a Red. And that sparked like a whole bunch of... Darrow's like pissed about this because that kind of throws a wrench in his original plans for how he was going to rally all the people together and inspire them. And now that's not really going to work as well. It's going to be harder to find Gold allies because they know he's not a Gold.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of that. Then this is what you were thinking of. So, also he has a little bit of a heart-to-heart with Victra. Like, lets her go. They do surgery to, like, repair her spine and everything like that. Mickey, the guy that turned him into a Gold, is there. They bring him in, and he does all this reconstructive work on Darrow and her to get them back into peak physical shape.
Honestly, they should have been a thing.
Victra and Darrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I liked her a lot more than I liked Mustang.
Yeah.
He finds out, by the way, that Mustang is continuing the war that he started. Like, her and the outer planets are at war with the inner planets, Mars and Earth.
Well, he's not seen her since he showed her to his home.
Yeah, and she rejected him.
She's still not there, I think.
Yeah, she's not there.
No.
But at this point, he finds out that she's continuing that war. He finds out that she's way out with the outer planets, the Moon Lords, as they're called. And they're continuing, like, that war that was started with him.
Moon Lords is such a dumb title.
It is. But, I mean, that's what they are. Saturn and Jupiter.
Moonlords.com.
God damn it. So this is what you were thinking of. Then, after they go through the physical reconstruction and everything, him and Victra get initiated into the Howlers, because Severo's still got his elite fighting force, and now Darrow's sort of working for him, because Severo's the one in charge. Darrow's still traumatized from being in the box, and he's still trying to reorient to everything, so he doesn't, like, take over the moment he comes back. They get initiated in the Howlers. Also a very funny scene. Basically what happens is they ambush him and Victra in the shower after they're finished working out, and then light a whole bunch of candles, turn the lights out. They make them both get, like, blasted drunk, and they have to eat a bunch of random, like, disgusting shit, and then they have to do some kind of a weird ritual.
Pit Viper.
Yeah, something. Do they eat it, or do they just have to kill it or something? I don't.
think they had to like kill it and then eat it.
It was something. It was some weird, gross thing that only Severo would have thought up.
Yeah.
But they go through that, and so they're officially apparently Ragnar's a Howler now too. Which,
yeah, he's got a massive cloak.
Yeah, he's got a giant bear cloak because the wolf cloaks that the rest of them wear would not fit him.
Yeah,
because he's a fucking giant. Yeah, so that happens, and then they there's a mission that they have to do, and this is what's been kind of announced. Severo has got a plan to get to go to one of the moons of Mars and capture this guy who is what the hell is this? Quicksilver, I think his name is.
Yes, Quicksilver.
He's this big like media and finance mogul. He's a silver, which is they are that kind of class in the society. They're the people who are just below golds. So that mission goes. They have to do this space thing. Darrow has some doubts about it, but he's not really in charge anymore. And there's a little bit of friction between him and Severo because their roles have now been flipped. Instead of Severo reporting to him,
tussling for command.
Yeah, but it's very light in the early stages of this. So they assault the moon, or they assault the manor that this guy lives in.
Yeah,
and something just doesn't feel right to Darrow. Like the place is dead quiet and empty. Like it's like there should be some people around. Like what's going on here? And eventually they go into the bedroom and they find a dude Pink, who is in there, and it's clearly like Quicksilver's lover or something like that. And Severo is starting to beat him for information or something like that, and that's what Darrow stops him before he kills the guy. And then he realizes, holy shit, no, this guy's a son of it. He's the guy that taught Darrow how to be a gold.
Yeah.
And so they stop before they kill him, and they decide to take him with them and stuff like that. And
yeah.
Then they finally
like a key item in a quest. They kind of just pick him up and take him along with them.
you have received like gay Pink. Anyway, so they get to like the personal office for Quicksilver, right? And they figure he's got to be in there. They open the door, and this is when shit hits the fan. On one side of the table, so there's Quicksilver. Then on one side of the table, there's Mustang, one of the Telemonises, the remaining ones, and like a couple other random people.
And all of the Darrow's group are in like these heavy armored
power suits, yeah.
That you can't recognize anyone in them.
Yeah, so they can't see them. They can see them, but they can't recognize who they are. Then on the other side of the table is Aja, the personal guard of the Sovereign, Cassius, the guy who Darrow's got the blood feud with that like was there when he escaped, and then like a couple other random like administrative people from her side of. So it's a negotiating table, like a secret negotiation between the two factions that are at war right now, and they've left out the Jackal from this negotiation. So it's heavily implied now that the Sovereign's like sick of this like sociopath and is trying to negotiate around him. I
just love the idea that there's this very important meeting and then a SWAT team busts in with a prostitute.
You know that... I didn't even think of that.
It's just someone's just carrying him.
Just riot shields, shotguns, rifles, and a prostitute. Oh my god. Okay.
No, he isn't a prostitute.
He isn't. No. He's like they do like kind of reveal it later. He's actually Quicksilver's lover. But anyway, so there's that. I'm just thinking of that stupid FBI open up meme now. God. Okay. So very tense scene. Everyone draws weapons. There's a bit of a tense thing, and Severo is like, no, we got to just take everyone out. Just kill everyone, grab Quicksilver, whatever. And Darrow's like, no, I mean, come on, Telemonises, Mustang, we can't do it to them. It's like, no, there's more to this, that something isn't right here. And Severo literally mutes Darrow's mic, so he can't talk to anyone.
It's the ultimate, like, Discord dick move.
Yeah, he server mutes him. And Darrow, desperate, just takes off his helmet so that everyone at the table can see who he is, and is trying desperately to stop things. but it's not meant to be, and there's a giant like firefight happens between the
Yeah.
howlers and the people in the room. A bunch
Mustang's actually trying to kill Darrow until, like, he doesn't take his helmet off until quite late.
Yeah, there's a big fight. Mustang's like got him up against the wall and has almost killed him, and then he takes off the helmet because he could have killed her, but it's like he doesn't want to. But so he's trying desperately to defend himself and just talk to her. But so he finally takes the helmet off, and she sees who he is, and then like that's when she stops. And long story short, like a bunch of shit happens. A bunch of the bronzes in the room get like crushed or like stepped on while they panic and try to run away. They eventually what?
Go on. No, go on.
So they eventually manage to, Cassius and Aja get out of the room. They retreat. They leave. Mustang fights until she sees it's Darrow. Then somebody manages to get a razor around the neck of the Telemanus father, like the guy that has the fox named Socrates. That guy's awesome.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so they using the threat of his life, they managed to cause the other Telemanus and Mustang's faction to retreat from the room as well.
Yeah.
They capture Quicksilver, who's, I think, knocked unconscious at this point. And then, without any other way to do, like, they're finally, Darrow and Severo have a big, like, no, fuck you, I'm in charge. No, fuck you, I'm in charge. No, fuck you, I'm in charge. And eventually Darrow kind of wins out on the charisma fight, and the Howlers obey him over Severo, which Severo is not happy about. But Darrow manages to come up with a plan. They, like, a bunch of other stuff happens. Like, they turn up the gravity in the room to try and stop them from leaving. They send in, like, an automated robot thing.
Yeah, they cut the air supply in the room and they send in robots.
Yeah. So what Darrow does, like, his plan is they blow out the window and they get one of their gray pilot to, like, have a transport there with the door open, like, next to the space station. And so they get blown out the window and fly over into the ship. Yeah. And they go in. They don't have much air. Darrow's almost blacking out. But then they've got the gas masks on, everything, and... woo, they're saved.
Yep.
And they managed to get away to wherever their secret hideaway is I think they're still on the moon, on Phobos. Or on a ship near Phobos or something like that. Because they haven't...
Of the 3 books, that's the one I've read the least, because I always start afresh.
Yeah. It's somewhere that, like, they have a hideaway with the Sons of Ares, but they haven't gotten... They haven't gotten away clean yet, because that's a plot point that comes up in a little bit. So there's a bit of a tense moment. There's a bit of like, yay, we got it, but now there's a lot of awkward air between Darrow and Severo. They go to interrogate Quicksilver together. Or no, they don't. Severo gives Darrow an order. Darrow tells somebody else to do that instead. And then him and Ragnar go and talk to Quicksilver.
Right.
I think it's Quicksilver. And they start to talk to him. Darrow finds something out, and I'm trying...
He finds out that Quicksilver was actually a son of Ares.
Not yet. He finds something else out first. And I'm trying to remember what it is. But I can't recall. Anyway,
okay.
So... Darrow and Ragnar go up. They meet up with Severo again. There's another very tense moment, and Severo goes like, "Oh fuck this! We're gonna kill Quicksilver."
Well, he finds out that Quicksilver and Severo's father were like...
Not yet. They're about to find that out.
Oh,
because they find it out when Severo's in the room.
Okay.
What happens first is Darrow goes and talks to him, and he reveals something that makes him want to go and talk to Severo.
Right.
And then Severo gets angry that Darrow went around him again and goes like, all right, fuck this. We're just going to, kill Quicksilver or torture him until we get the information we need. And then they go into the room and they go to start to interrogate him. Severo is talking. And then that's when Quicksilver is like, I was like, oh my God, is that you? And he says Severo's father's name. Yeah. And Severo's like shocked, like, because he was A, that he knew him, and B, that they were on a first-name basis.
Yeah.
So Severo steps into the light, and he knows Severo by name, too. And that's when he goes like, yeah, no, it's like, I founded the Sons of Ares with your father. Like, and he goes into telling the whole story of how it happened, like, they were business partners.
Severo was born, yeah.
Yeah. And talks about how, like, the whole reason that is, you know, I think it's revealed it they may have already gone over this in the last book, but yeah, they did. In the last book, it was revealed that Severo is half red because his father fell in love with a red, and then they had her genetically modified so they could actually have kids, and thus Severo. And so when his father was working on wherever the remote place it was that he met his mother, that's when he met Quicksilver, and the two of them formed like a partnership for, you know, business and political purposes. And then eventually his father kind of looped him into Quicksilver's thing, and Quicksilver's motivation for trying to topple the society was very pragmatic. It wasn't emotionally based. It was like, yeah, it's like innovation and financial and stuff is stifled because the golds, they got on top and they're just content to sit there and keep everything exactly how it is. And so there's no innovation, there's no new, like, financial, you know, innovation and new technology and things. I'm just using the word innovation over and over again.
How innovative of you.
And so Severo isn't really willing to accept this, and Darrow doesn't want him to kill, and they have another falling out to the point where they go into the hallway, and Severo is going to, like, nuke the moon, essentially, because they've planted bombs all over Phobos. But if they do that, their plan was to disrupt, like, the economy and, you know, throw Mars into chaos to help them. But if what Quicksilver is saying is the truth, then that would be horrible. Yeah, they'd lose their entire financial backing.
Yeah.
And so Darrow and Severo basically beat the shit out of each other in the hallway, and then have like a tear-felt heart-to-heart, and Darrow realizes that the burden of being in charge was really, like, getting to Severo.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't handle it. And so
they have an anger fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. They kick the shit out of each other, and then they kiss and make up. And everything's all better now, and now Darrow's back in charge. That's the long and short of it. So they go back up, and when they rejoin the bridge crew, they've got Quicksilver with them, and they're like, hey, we got a plan. We got a plan, boys. And the next scene is just absolutely epic, and I think because of how long we've already been talking that we may have to only...
Well, I think we should get past the ice part so that we can start the next part.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm going to try to get to that. The ice part's probably going to go quick. But anyway, so their plan, they call the Jackal and tell him something and feign like they've got Quicksilver hostage, but not really. It's all a ruse to get the Jackal to do something else.
Yeah.
And what they actually do then is Severo goes, and starts to make chaos around the moon. Meanwhile, Darrow, down on the planet, makes his appearance as the Reaper. Like, so he's flying through the low-colored districts, and he's showing off that he has, like, no sigils anymore. He doesn't have the gold sigils or the red sigils. He's completely...
I can't remember if he had both or if he had neither.
He had none. None at all.
Okay, yeah.
And so he gives some very, like, really, really rousing speech as he flies through the low-color district. And, you can see, like, people all around him, like, on all the screens watching him as it's being broadcast all over the moon. And they're just essentially sowing chaos and causing an uprising on Phobos. And all of this is so that Darrow can slip into a hangar and get a ship to go down to Mars to try and recruit all of Ragnar's people.
Yeah. I seem to remember Ragnar... This could be a different one, but he was, like, fighting in a comms tower?
He was, yeah. So part of the raid was they had to take over a few comms towers, and one of the people doing the raiding was Ragnar. And after
he took a whole squadron out in, like, a single minute.
Yeah, with just him. Which, Ragnar is such a fucking badass.
He is. Honestly, all the big guys in the series are just badasses.
Yeah, I'm thinking like my favorite
Even
people in the
Arj is
series.
pretty badass.
Yeah, she's a bitch, but she's a badass.
Well, she's not even like she's not a bitch like Victra's sister.
No, she I guess
Antonia,
that's her name. Thank you. But I mean, Aja isn't as sadistic as Antonia, but she does like murder Quinn in cold blood just to prove a point.
yeah, but I mean,
Just saying.
all's fair in love and war.
She is doing it for a purpose. She is doing her duty in that regard, but I think she gets a little bit too much pleasure out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I got a rough throat. Yeah, so they get to the hangar, and after single-handedly taking a comms tower, Ragnar is meeting up with Darrow in the hangar, and he's just casually there, just like, what's... And they share a little bit of banter. And as they're about to leave in the shuttle, it's supposed to be just Darrow, Ragnar, and the surviving Grey that got him out of prison in the Jackal's compound. She's their pilot. And they've got a bunch of weapons, and the idea is they're going to arm the Obsidians with all this cool New Age tech, and with Ragnar's help, they're going to inspire them to rise up and be their army. Because only a very small percentage of the Obsidians are taken up to participate in like warfare with the Golds. The rest of them are left primitive. So if you could bring like a whole population of like 50,000 Obsidians, you'd have like a tremendously powerful army.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so that happens. As they're about to leave the hangar, Mustang's in the hangar, like standing right in front of the shuttle, like, and so they stop. Darrow and her have a bit of a chat, and she convinces him to let her come along. And it's still kind of tense. Like there's clearly some mistrust. They haven't seen each other since she left Darrow, sitting down in Lycos, the red mine where he grew up, when he tried to confess, what he was to her. And so she climbs in. They get in the shuttle. They manage to get out. There's already chaos. Severo's taken over ships in orbit, and it's all a cover so they can get down to the south pole of Mars. And that's where the because it's clear that what they say is the polar regions of the planets are where the Obsidians are living.
Kept.
Yeah, they're like that's why they give them like the Norse mythology as their religion, to try and they're basically giant Viking people. And they've made all these mythological creatures to put in the water around them. So there actually are, like, krakens and griffins and all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
So they get down there, and as they're getting there, they realize that they're being followed. And then the ship that's following them starts firing on them. They take hits. They're damaged. They're potentially going down. Ragnar runs back into the back of the ship and, like... Again, Ragnar being a fucking badass. What?
I just remembered... that it's not Harpies, it's Valkyries.
Valkyries are what Ragnar's people are called.
Yes. I think you said Harpies earlier.
I did. And I was talking about the honor guard to the Sovereign, but they're not Obsidians.
Oh, okay. That's not Harpies, though, because there's men in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe I think Aja was one of the personal guards, but then she had people with her that were called Harpies or something like that. I don't. It's been a few weeks. This is the problem with talking about the book a few weeks after I read it. So they get shot down, and again, Ragnar, being the badass that he is, like, stands in the damaged ship and fires a fucking rocket launcher out of the back of the thing, unguided, and hits the other ship following them.
He's like, they think they're gonna die, and so he just grabs a rocket launcher and says,
and just fires it out the back of the ship. He's such a fucking bamf. Anyway, so they all crash. They try to recover what equipment they have. They get people back together. They find Mustang being attacked by like a sea creature of some kind. They manage to all get out, recover some basic foodstuffs, get dry, get a little warm, and then they decide to go and see if the other ship that attacked them is still intact or around, or if there's people in there that they can take hostage or that they'll have to look out for. And sure enough, they get there, and apparently there are like Obsidians that are outcasts from the rest of Obsidian society. and they're cannibals, essentially. And so what you find is that they have... The ship that crashed has been attacked by these Obsidians, just like Darrow and them were. And those Obsidians had started to cannibalize some of the golds on the ship because they believe they will become gods by eating the flesh of the gods.
Yeah.
And so that's...
I mean, just imagine that. You're in a pretty hellscape anyway, and suddenly, like, a group of pro wrestlers come and...
Start eating you?
Yeah. It's pretty... Well, that's not great odds.
No, it's pretty fucked up. So they eventually do catch up with the few survivors from that shuttle, which, sure enough, it's Cassius and Aja.
Yeah.
And they're in a bit of a desperate struggle with those Obsidians. There's a giant, like, conflict between them on the ice. And Cassius gets shot through the throat with a bow.
Does by Mustang.
By Mustang. Aja and... Ragnar have this giant like fight, and
yeah,
this is where Ragnar finally bites it. He puts up a pretty good fight. She's like implied to be like the best swordsman in the whole society.
Yeah,
and Ragnar like is just a fucking badass, as has been established, but he doesn't have the technique to deal with Aja.
No,
and so she eventually
not sling blade, a
razor. Yeah. So she like guts him. And Darrow and Mustang manage to finally beat their opponents and then drive her off, and she falls down a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, maybe she's alive, maybe she's dead, but she's not dead. Yeah. So they find Ragnar, and he's like he's dying very slowly because you don't die quickly when you get a gut shot like that. And as they're talking to him, riders on griffins come down, and this is what you were thinking of, is the Valkyries.
Yep.
It's implied that not implied, but it's stated outright that the Obsidians have a matriarchal society. Like a lot of tribal societies, like women tended to be in charge. The Iroquois Confederacy was like that, and there's a few other examples in history. But they are so the women are like the hegemons of the Obsidian society.
The hegemons?
Hegemon, yeah. Have you ever heard of the word hegemony?
No.
Oh.
I'm just thinking of Digimon now.
No. A hegemon is like the top, the supreme leader, the people in charge.
Right, okay. So Margaret Thatcher comes down on a bird.
Anyway, so they come down, and it's actually Ragnar's sister. And
who hasn't seen him for
ages,
since they were children.
Right, and they're still very religious. They still think the Golds are like gods in this society. Ragnar's the one who's like been told otherwise by Darrow. So she talks to him, and there's a bit of a heart-to-heart between them. She doesn't really say much, and she puts an axe in Ragnar's hand so he can die as a warrior. And Ragnar, puts it down, and with one hand grabs like the snow, and with the other hand like grabs his sister's hand, and he's like, his last words are something like, it's like, no, he's like, promise me you need to live for more, or something like that. He's like, just he's trying to tell her to break away from her preconceptions.
Break the chains.
Yeah, they break the chains. The line that they always use. So I think I'm gonna wrap up this kind of sequence, and then we'll get to what happens when they interact with the Obsidians in the next part, because we have been talking for a little over a half hour now. But yeah, so at this point in the book, like the first half of the book really heavily focuses on Darrow recovering, like his trauma, catching up on all the stuff that's happened while he's been in isolation, and then him slowly, re-emerging as himself.
Lots of emotional moments, more than fighting moments.
And it's honestly one of the most satisfying portions in the first half of the book is when he's flying through the low-colored districts giving that rousing speech, because you start to feel, oh yeah, he's back!
Yeah. He's not back tip-top shape, but
he's back.
In spirit, he's back.
Yeah. He's still got, like, the mental scars and the physical scars from everything that happened to him. But in spirit, he's back. Like, he's got the old fire back in him. And, and we're getting to the part which the middle of the book does get a little dry and dull when they're in the Viking place with Ragnar's people. I don't know what it was about it. It's a scene that should have worked in every way possible because it is badass, and like the Obsidians have been talked up as these crazy, awesome people so far. But the whole sequence in the book is just kind of... It feels like a speed bump.
Yeah. But we'll get to that next time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the first half of the book. Great series. I loved reading it from start to finish, and it does have a good ending, so look forward to that. Any final thoughts before we close out the episode?
Probably going to try something new for the third segment next week.
Oh yeah, that's
look forward to that. I know I am.
Yeah, that is a point. We won't be doing the second half of this book review until probably episode 56. So next week, episode 55, we're going to be trying out something new and interesting that Blue has thought up. So
yeah,
look forward to that. Anyway, this is going to be the end of episode 54 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again next week.
Wootini!